Hi, welcome to the latest update from ShelterBox Operations. A little trot through of where we are in the world and what we're doing. Okay, starting off with South America. South America has been affected by the El Nino event, which is where the wind blows from a different direction about once every 4 years, and warm water ends up being where it should be cold and vice versa. And unfortunately for South America, that means that very warm water is causing unseasonably high rainfall in Peru and Colombia. Starting off with Colombia, down in the southwest of Mocoa region, there was about a month ago mudslides which killed quite a few people and displaced even more. The team responded to that, and we have delivered 95 shelter boxes down for people displaced by the mudslides. Now the rains have continued, and we've moved on to the middle of the country, more up towards Medellin. That's the Choco region, and there are 65 boxes being distributed as we speak. Now, because of the security situation in the Choco region, the team are doing remote distribution and train the trainer. Now, train the trainer is where you try and replace the team with someone who has been taught all of the intricacies of putting the tent up and all the maintenance issues to teach to the beneficiaries, and also give them a lot more information, so they are the local experts on the tent, and they've fed back beneficiary data and pictures and examples of the tents being put up, and it is a really good distribution from a remote point of view, so the team are doing really well there. Now, I'd like the team to be there, but I don't want the team to become part of that problem and get themselves into security situations that need us to stop operations. So the team working really well in Colombia with our partnerships with the local national disaster people and also the Red Cross. Now, moving on to Peru. Slightly different, same thing, increased rainfall up to a year's rainfall in a month in some areas of Peru, and that's caused widespread flooding in the northwestern region. Now we have done 1,000 shelter kits in Trujillo, and we're looking in the Piura area for doing non-food distributions, which is blankets, mosquito nets, that kind of thing. Now it's kind of our end game stuff now. We've been working with NDICI, who are the national disaster people, without whom their cooperation and partnership, nothing happens in that country. So we've got to work very closely with them. And they've been providing us with translators and cultural background to make sure those 1,000 shelter kits have gone out really well. So moving on from South America and moving on to Africa, and we've got the Boko Haram violence in Nigeria, which is causing displacement into Chad, Niger, and also Cameroon. We've operated in Niger lots and lots of times in the past. It's very liable to flooding, and also in the more recent years the Chibok girls violence associated with that event and ongoing has caused displacement into Niger. So they have a dual issue with flooding and also with people being displaced by the violence there. We're in the final stages of providing both shelter kits and tents and boxes to people in Niger, and hopefully we'll be able to get that underway in the next month. Now moving on to Cameroon. Cameroon, we've operated there quite a lot last year. We've done nearly 3,000 families in the past few years in Cameroon. Again, violence moving people into Cameroon in the far north of the country. Again, a very difficult place to operate. We've got plans to do 1,700 boxes in the next month or so, and at the moment the team are planning how the logistics of that work, train the trainer, I've already explained, and maybe if the security situation allows, getting our team up there to do the distributions ourselves, which we'd dearly like to, but again, we don't want to be part of the problem or put our teams at risk. Somaliland, in the Horn of Africa, it has been, it's had a rough time. It's had conflict, political issues, and about 2 years of drought, which is really starting to bite now. And when the population is mainly based around cattle and the movement of cattle, it really starts to affect. Estimations are that over half the population on the move now due to drought in that country. The families are getting split up as the families are left in their traditional areas, and the other members of the family are now driving those cattle towards where the last bits of vegetation are and where the last reports of rain were, to try and keep those cattle alive, because that is their lifeblood. Now we are going to provide shelter kits for the families in Somaliland, and it's been quite a long slog. We've been a couple of months now since we had the initial team in there to find a partner that could work with us to analyse the security situation and also find out what was culturally best. We could do tents, but it's been decided that the best way forward is to provide them with shelter kits and tarpaulins and other non-food items to help them with their nomadic lifestyle, and also, should they choose to come to the cities, to benefit from any aid distributions that are going on with other agencies, that shelter kit can also be adaptable to provide a shelter in that help. Now, Yemen, conflict in Yemen that's been going on for, well, over a year now. Severe security situation in Yemen. It's unlikely we'll be able to get a team in there, and because the ports have been damaged and there are severe restrictions of what you can import into Yemen, it's been a long slog, but we finally may have found a partner that can work with us to get things into Yemen. So we're going to start off small to build up trust in that partner, trust in the logistical routes that we've chosen to get into Yemen, and see if we get the right beneficiary data back. Again, a remote distribution, not that we want to do it, but over the choice of doing nothing, that's what we've chosen to do. So Yemen should start to happen and will probably develop into something quite large in the coming months. So moving on to Syria now. Syria, again, we've been in Syria for about 5 years now, and we've done thousands and thousands and thousands of families with shelter and other items that they've needed in the winter and in the summer, through displacement, through actually destruction of their livelihoods and destruction of their property in situ. It's changed, taken many different formats, and it's almost like water trying to find its way through a crack. We'll find a way that works, and then the war moves on, the political situation changes, and we adapt. The war in Syria at the moment has moved on to one of the focuses is Raqqa, which is the central headquarters of ISIS, and there is a coalition attack in Raqqa, and that is causing displacements which are predicted to ramp up to be in the hundreds of thousands possibly. So we are starting to work in that area, which is a new area for Syria for us. We've got 1,500 shelter kits which are being deployed, and we've got plans to do much larger distribution which are in the initial stages, so I don't want to go into too many details at the moment of how that could pan out, but we have big plans in Syria, and it looks like there's no immediate end to the displacement there. In Iraq, we have recently distributed with our partners 3,000 non-food item kits, and that is to supplement the shelter that is being deployed by our other partners. This is all in response to Mosul, which was another ISIS stronghold. It's been surrounded, and the plans are that, well, the announcements are that by Ramadan, Mosul should be liberated, which will be good news, but that could cause mass displacements. We have 2,000 tents on standby for that mass displacement should it overwhelm the UN and the other agencies that are working there. And our stores of supplementary items are being used to augment what the other agencies are doing, and we remain standing by. So we've got about 3,000 of those kits that have gone out, about 300 tents have gone out and we've distributed. So again, it's very difficult to respond to conflict because it could go in any way. Displacements could be large or very small, just depending on the turn of events in a particular conflict in a particular town. Very difficult and challenging places to work. Moving on to the Pacific, places that we're monitoring now. Vanuatu had a very large typhoon that rolled through there. It's caused damage on the most northerly islands, but the agency's in place. They have it covered, but we remain standing by should they need any more shelter kits to help the population that's been badly affected by that storm. It's still storm season, so we remain alert to that. We're also looking into Uganda. South Sudan is now the conflict that's driving people into Uganda. Uganda's been a bit of a success story when it comes to refugees over the years, because they have a policy of integrating them into the economy and giving them rights to work, and that has done really good things for how that country is able to manage that influx of refugees. Now with the Sudan crisis starting to ramp up in violence, that outflux of people is starting to overwhelm what Uganda can do for them, and this is where we might be able to step in and help at this time in the near future. Yemen, again, it's an ongoing one, but it's certainly one of the areas of potential. It could be very flexible how we respond to that, depending on how many partners we can get going. And of course we have the standard watch of typhoons, cyclones, hurricanes in other parts of the world, and earthquakes, and flooding, flash flooding, all kinds of things that could be going on right now as we speak. So that's what we're doing at the moment, and hopefully I'll bring you some updates in the near future of how those have been going.